The story begins with a young woman named Cassie, sprinting through the woods, terrified, wounded, and bleeding. The forest echoes with low guttural growls, something not human hunting her. Suddenly, a man named Gerard grabs her from behind, whispering for her to stay quiet. He's injured too. As they crouch behind a tree, a monstrous silhouette passes by. They hold their breath until the creature finally fades into the mist. We soon learn that Cassie came to this forest with her friends for a weekend getaway. But one by one, they vanished. She's the last one left. The thing in the woods attacked her, and now she's running for her life. Cassie and Gerard join forces, trying to find a way out. They stumble across a dark underground tunnel, but before they can enter, that inhuman screech echoes again through the trees. Panic takes over. They run in opposite directions. Cassie calls out for Gerard, but he's gone. Gerard ends up hiding in an abandoned room, sliding under a dusty bed. The silence breaks when rats begin crawling from the walls. Then they swarm him, biting, tearing into his flesh as he muffles his screams. Meanwhile, Cassie stumbles into a decrepit surgery room. There, she finds her friend Terry, tied to an operating table, her eyes crudely stitched shut, empty sockets where they once were. Cassie whispers her name, but Terry only gags and vomits blood. Before Cassie can react, heavy footsteps approach. She freezes, hoping it's Gerard, but it's not. It's them. The creatures rush in, ripping her apart as her screams echo into darkness. Days later, the scene shifts. We meet Abigail, a drug addict drowning in depression. Her family, desperate to help her recover, decides to isolate her in a remote cabin deep in the same forest, unaware of the evil that lurks there. Along with her parents Cara and Keith, her brother Mark, her best friend Laura, and a therapist named Jude, they plan a healing retreat. To ensure no distractions, Jude locks everyone's phones away. That night, she drives out to gather supplies, but her car stalls. When she checks the tires, she finds strange metal wires tangled in them. As she tries to pull them free, one slices her hand open. Her blood drips onto the soil, and something begins to move beneath it. The creature has found her. Back at the cabin, Abigail isolates herself in her room. When Laura tries to comfort her, Abigail lashes out, screaming for her to leave. Hurt, Laura walks away, and Cara gently reminds her that compassion is what Abigail needs most. Later, Keith steps outside for a smoke. He spots a shadow moving among the trees. Abigail. She had slipped out after her mother fell asleep. He chases after her, calling her name. Then suddenly, thwack, an arrow pierces his back. He collapses. The creatures are here. Panicking, Abigail tries to drag her father to safety, but more arrows rain down from the darkness. They run, lost and disoriented, through the endless forest. Somehow, they make it to a road, where they find Jude's car. But Jude is nowhere in sight. Abigail leans into the car, searching for keys, when a monstrous figure suddenly appears behind her, pulling the arrow from Keith's body. Keith screams in agony. Abigail turns, and sees the creature's grotesque face inches from hers. Before she can react, more of them emerge from the shadows, surrounding the car. Back at the cabin, Cara, Mark, and Laura grow anxious. Jude hasn't returned. Keith is missing. Abigail's gone. Cara hands them flashlights and sends them into the woods to search, unaware that Abigail and her father have already been taken to that same abandoned house with the tunnel we saw at the beginning. And what awaits them inside is far worse than anything the forest could hide. Abigail wakes up strapped to a bed, her wrists bound tight. When she looks to her side, she sees Jude, but she's barely recognizable. Her eyes have been gouged out, her lips stitched shut, and her body is covered in deep, raw wounds. Across the room, Keith, Abigail's father, is also tied up, bloodied, and bruised. Realizing there's no escape, Keith does the only thing a desperate father can. He starts yelling, banging against the bed frame to draw the creatures toward him and away from his daughter. One of them takes the bait. It prowls toward Keith, then drives its claws into his face, tearing out his eyes before ripping into his flesh. Nearby, another creature grabs a bottle of acid and splashes it across Jude's face. She lets out a guttural scream before her body goes limp. Abigail watches, frozen in horror, trembling and silent as tears stream down her face. Keith, half conscious and covered in blood, begs her to run. But before she can move, a massive creature enters the room carrying a sledgehammer. Without hesitation, it swings, smashing Keith's skull in one brutal blow. Abigail's scream echoes through the house. Her father is gone. Overcome by rage and grief, she vows to survive, not just for herself, but to warn the others. Seizing the chaos, Abigail slips free and runs. She hides inside a dark control room, gasping for breath. That's when she learns something terrifying. The creatures are blind. They hunt only by sound and smell. Abigail stays perfectly still, but her trembling hand knocks a metal pipe to the floor. The noise draws one of the creatures in. It sniffs the air, searching, but misses her by inches as she hides behind a cabinet. When it finally leaves, she spots a wall full of missing children posters and a map pinned beside them, a map that shows the way out of the forest. She grabs it and bolts. Out in the woods, she reunites with Mark and Lara, who were out searching for her. Still in shock, Abigail can barely speak. They rush her back to the cabin. Inside, her mother Kara tries to calm her, but Abigail remains unresponsive, whispering about monsters in the dark. Mark assumes she's high again, but Lara suggests taking her to the hospital. Kara refuses. She wants to wait for Keith to return. That night, Kara hears a noise from the kitchen. The window is open, though she swears she never touched it. As she bends down to close it, a creature bursts through, snapping her legs with a single strike. She screams, the sound echoing through the cabin. Mark rushes downstairs, grabs a kitchen knife, and faces the beast head-on. The creature charges. Mark slashes, stabbing it again and again. The monster collapses, blood spraying across the walls. Mark stands there, shaking, drenched in its blood, barely believing he's still alive. He stumbles upstairs into Abigail's room. Abigail and Lara stare in horror. Mark looks like he's been through hell. That's when Abigail finally breaks down and tells them everything. The creatures, the tunnel, her father's death. Before they can react, they hear Kara screaming downstairs, yelling for them to run. But it's too late. The creature has her. It slams her to the floor and lets out an otherworldly screech, a sound that summons swarms of rats. The rats flood the room, devouring Kara alive as her children listen helplessly from above. Abigail collapses in tears. She's lost her father, now her mother. But there's no time to grieve. The creatures are still outside. Mark holds the door shut while Abigail and Lara escape through the window. They make it to the car, but the keys are missing. Abigail remembers Jude's body was back at the tunnel, and the keys must still be there. Their only hope is to go back. They wait for Mark, who climbs out the window to join them. Just as he's about to jump, a creature grabs his leg and bites deep. Screaming in pain, Mark kicks free and lands hard on the ground. They help him up, and the three of them start running through the forest toward the tunnel. But after a few minutes, Mark collapses. His leg is shredded. He can't go on. He insists the girls leave him. Lara stays behind to help, while Abigail continues alone, determined to reach the tunnel. Lara runs to Jude's car to grab the first aid kit, but when she returns, she freezes. A creature is standing right behind Mark. Before she can even scream, it wraps its claws around his neck and crushes his skull under its feet. Lara lets out a blood-curdling scream and runs for her life. Lara tried to run, but another creature caught up with her, slamming her to the ground and knocking her unconscious. Meanwhile, Abigail had finally reached the creature's underground lair. She frantically searched Jude's mangled body for the car keys, but they were gone. Moving through the dimly lit rooms, she came across an old monitor playing a video, and what she saw froze her blood. On the screen, Lara was tied to a bed, while one of the creatures slowly stitched her lips shut with a needle. Her muffled screams echoed through the tunnel. Abigail followed the sound, grabbed a hammer from a nearby table, and charged in. With pure fury, she bashed the creature over and over until it collapsed. Then, with shaking hands, she cut open Lara's stitched lips, freeing her, though the pain was unbearable. As she helped Lara sit up, Abigail spotted her father's body nearby. Overcome with emotion, she took off her jacket and gently placed it over him, whispering a final goodbye. But she couldn't stay. There was still one creature left, and she wasn't leaving until it was dead. Abigail picked up a pair of scissors, approached the wounded monster, and unleashed everything inside her, slashing, stabbing, hammering, until the creature stopped moving. But one still remained alive, the leader, and it was tracking them by scent. Abigail and Lara split up to hide. Lara ran into a bathroom, holding her mouth shut to stay silent. But within seconds, the creature burst through the door, grabbed her by the throat, and started choking her. Lara kicked and struggled, but it was no use. She blacked out. Then, from somewhere down the hall, a sound. Abigail intentionally knocked over a metal tray to draw the creature's attention. It dropped Lara and turned toward the noise, following it. Abigail backed away until she found herself separated from it by a glass wall. For the first time, she stopped running. Through the glass, she looked into the creature's disfigured face and whispered, "Please, just let me go. You've already taken everything from me." Her voice trembled as she continued, "My family, my friends. I didn't even get to say goodbye." The creature hesitated. For a moment, it almost looked like it understood her. Abigail went on, revealing what she had discovered, the truth behind it all. Those creatures were once human. Years ago, a deranged scientist kidnapped 3 children and experimented on them, fusing human and animal DNA. The children mutated into rat-like hybrids, explaining why real rats obeyed them. The missing kids from the posters Abigail found earlier, they were the creatures. And the one standing before her was one of them. For a fleeting second, its eyes softened, a spark of humanity buried deep inside the monster. Then, suddenly, Lara appeared behind it and swung a hammer straight into its skull. The creature dropped to the ground, unconscious. The girls knew what they had to do. They weren't just escaping, they were going to end this. Abigail and Lara drenched the lair in gasoline, determined to burn everything, including the creatures, to ashes. But before they could finish, a familiar growl echoed behind them. The creature was awake. It lunged forward and drove a steel pipe straight through Lara's stomach. She gasped, blood spilling down her chest, before collapsing in Abigail's arms. Abigail screamed, grief turning into rage. She looked at the creature, eyes burning. "You took everything from me." With trembling hands, she struck a match and tossed it. The flames roared to life, spreading fast. The creature howled as the fire consumed it, trapped behind the collapsing walls. Abigail walked away, ignoring its screams, the orange glow lighting her tear-streaked face. The entire tunnel burned to the ground. When dawn broke, she stood alone in the forest, broken, exhausted, and unsure where to go. But as she took one final step forward, a dark shadow moved behind her. Another creature was watching. Was it one of the three that survived, or were there more of them hiding in the forest all along? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories where survival is never guaranteed.